Alright, I'm gonna jump first into the heavy hitter that drives this, the stands. If you've played Bridger Western for any significant period of time, you know that most people play this game to get a stand. Every single action they do is motivated behind getting a stand. They sit in the game and most people fish. You want to know why? To get the coveted stand arrow so they can get themselves a stand or get evolutions like GER. But there are some major flaws to the stand system. The stand system is too hard. Yeah, I said it. I've had friends who have played this game for over 9 hours, constantly fishing and trying to get a course part. And I agree that the idea of having stands be a little bit rare is good, but it shouldn't be impossible to the fact where a solo player literally can't get it unless it's RNG based. For example, the corpse parts. Once a corpse part does spawn, being a solo player is impossible because you ride over to these corpse parts and either people got a gang of like 7 people who are all working together to kill everyone just to get this one person to stand, and you have to beat up like 20 people in order to get it, or you have to get insanely lucky and it has to either spawn next to you or by some miracle of God you manage to touch your hands on the coveted corpse part. I understand what they're trying to do with this system, but if you want players to play your game and players to actually stay on your game, at least moving towards the future, getting stands has to be a normal thing for a player. Not most people in this game have a stand. I could say probably close to 40% from my experiences. The next problem with stands is that most of them are pretty underpowered. This game has a really poor balancing system. Some stands like Hey Ya and 20th Century Boys are literally useless. And then stands like the World AU just absolutely blitz every other stand in the game, and it's not even close. If you're not running the same 2 stands, then you're gonna get killed. And I have had so many people I know rage quit because they get a stand and it sucks, or when they finally get a stand they realize that it's not that strong to begin with, and then they regret wasting their time obtaining it. Now let's discuss the content. Literally all there is to do is fish, get a stand, and then fight people for like 30 minutes. Since there literally isn't any content in the game as is, I literally can't talk anything about it because there's nothing to critique. That in and of itself says everything I need to say about the content state in this game. The only thing really memorable, which isn't really content at all, is the map. And it's good, but it's really big and empty. Yeah, it fits the vibe, but what's the point of a massive map that's beautiful if that's the only thing it is? Beautiful. There's no purpose to it whatsoever besides adding to the vibe. Like, there's nothing to do in it. Everything is concentrated in the fishing hut and the town. They can nuke the entire map and make it just those 2 areas, and it'd be the exact same. Now let's talk about the progression. The progression is also something that this game has a really big flaw in. First of all, let's talk about the experience and the leveling system. Getting to tier 3 takes no time at all. You can join the game, fish for like maybe 10-20 minutes, and then you've gotten enough EXP to get to tier 3 and have all 3 of your card slots. And then what is the point of these events, like the NPC events or the zombie events that give you money and chests? They're just useless because you don't need the EXP because first of all, you're already tier 3, and then second of all, the chests don't even matter because fishing is a way more efficient source of getting money, and stand arrows, the only item people actually care about that you can get in this game, isn't even obtainable from these chests. And then in terms of guns, dude, getting a maxed out loadout from the first gun also takes 0 seconds. It takes like 20 minutes, not even 10 minutes, because you fish, get like 10 of each fish, sell them all, and you have $2,000. $2,000, and then you can buy any 2 guns in the game that you want. So in a matter of 30 minutes, you've already obtained A, the max level required, and B, a max loadout of guns. Finally, it requires too much RNG. The final tier of progression in this game is, of course, getting a stand and maxing out your horse, or like getting a good horse. But you know what both of these are? They're heavily tied to RNG, with getting lucky and getting your hands on a corpse part, and then the whole horse system being around the rerolls. As a general rule of thumb, having RNG as a part of a progression system is not a good thing, because this locks players behind a potentially endless progression loop if they aren't able to get lucky enough to gain certain things. In that, you know what that results in? The player getting frustrated and quitting. If the player isn't able to put in effort and actually see that effort be rewarded back to him from playing the game, then they're not going to play. I don't think I've ever played the game where I could spend 10 hours and for a chance at being able to progress the game, which you see in stuff like stands. And then horses aren't as bad, but you need a good horse. Having a strong horse with good speed and good stamina is a essential part of actually getting a stand, because even if you might be lucky enough to even get a corpse part, if you don't have a good enough horse, you're never escaping with that thing. This is the final problem that I'll address of Bridger Western, and it revolves around the player retention and endgame. Think to yourself as a player, once you get a stand, now what? You spent all this time hunting for a corpse part or fishing to get an arrow or merge with the corpse part to get a stand, and then now that you finally have a stand, what do? You want to know what the answer is? There's nothing to do. Once you get a stand, you kill people with it and have fun for like 30 minutes, and then that's it. You've experienced all there is to do with a stand. And that's probably why this game, if you played in the servers, nobody who's actually playing, or very few players in a server, actually have a stand, because of two reasons. Getting a stand is incredibly hard, and people who already have stands have nothing else to do in the game, so there's no reason for them to play it unless they're helping a friend. It's just so boring, and it makes a player think, I put all this effort in for what? I grinded my ass off for what? There's no point. And then it also makes players in the early game think, why should I grind for a stand, which is one of the only reasons why people play this game, if there's nothing to even do with the stand after I've obtained it. And that's the biggest killer for this game. So going forward with future updates, they need to start adding content to remediate this problem. Things that you can do with stands, or things that stands help you do, or just overall content in general. Since this game is revolved around the SBR portion of JoJo's, they should add a way to participate in SBR, either for maybe a chance to get a guaranteed corpse part if you win, or maybe you get money for winning, or just a thing to have fun with and do with your friends. Taking a look at this update, man, dude, it is not the right step in the right direction. They added 2 new stands, being White Snake and Stone Free, the Rokaka fruit for trading. People were hyped for the Rokaka fruit when it got announced, because they're like, I wonder how they're gonna do it. And then it ended up just being a frickin' trading system. That is so boring. And then finally they added shinies. It's still suffering from the same problems as it's been having. There's still nothing to do. That is insane, and Bridger Western honestly needs to do better moving forward, or else they're gonna die. There's nothing without its problems. No game is perfect, and this is definitely not an example of a perfect game. They have a lot of things they need to work on. Even if this game is an early alpha, it has hype now, and that hype might not be there in the future. So they have to build off of that and actually start making real changes to the game, which allow for a more playable and more enjoyable experience that isn't just fishing or fighting or ripping your hair out for getting a stand. Just wanted to thank you guys for watching my video. If you enjoyed watching it or agree with even one thing I said, please subscribe. It really helped me out, and show this video to other people. I want to get the word out so the devs actually take action and listen to the player base and start implementing changes that benefit the player and make the game's progression and overall content more bearable.